Stop lying to yourself. You know exactly what that feeling is. That heavy, sinking sensation in your gut when you open your eyes and see sunlight streaming through the curtains. You check your phone. It's 7:45 a.m. You promised yourself, you swore on everything you hold holy, that today would be the day you started. That today the alarm would go off at 5 a.m. and you would rise. But you didn't. You hit snooze. You negotiated with your own potential, and you lost. Again. Now the rush begins. The panic. The coffee consumed too fast. The traffic, the emails, the noise. You are reacting to the world before you've even had a moment to exist in it. You tell yourself, I'm just not built for mornings. You tell yourself, I need more rest. But deep down in the quiet corners of your mind, you know the truth. It's not about sleep. It's about control. And right now, you don't have it. But what if I told you that the distance between the life you have and the life you desperately want isn't measured in years or money or talent? It is measured in minutes. Specifically, the first 120 minutes of the day. This is not just another video about waking up early. This is a blueprint for reconstructing your reality. This is the story of a man who was drowning in mediocrity until he discovered that his salvation was hiding in the dark, hours before the rest of the world opened its eyes. If you are tired of losing battles to your alarm clock, listen closely. This story might just save you. Let me introduce you to David. At 34 years old, David was the definition of fine. He wasn't starving, but he wasn't living. He worked in a cubicle farm doing data entry for a logistics company, a job that a computer could do better, and probably would in a few years. He lived in a cramped apartment where the walls were thin enough to hear his neighbor's television every night. David's life was a loop. Wake up late, rush to work, sit in a chair for 8 hours, come home exhausted, scroll through social media for 4 hours, sleep, repeat. He was a spectator in his own life. He watched other people buy homes, start businesses, and travel the world through the blue light of his phone screen, feeling a toxic mix of jealousy and paralysis. He had dreams, of course. We all do. He wanted to learn graphic design. He wanted to get fit. He wanted to start a side hustle. But his excuse was always the same. I don't have time. By the time he got home at 6 p.m., his brain was fried. He had nothing left to give. The breaking point didn't come with a tragedy. It came with a reunion. David bumped into an old college friend, Marcus, at a grocery store. Marcus looked incredible fit, sharp, wearing a suit that cost more than David's car. They exchanged pleasantries, and then Marcus asked the question that haunts every stagnant man. So, David, what have you been building lately? David froze. Building? He wasn't building anything. He was just surviving. He mumbled something about busy with work and keeping his head down. He saw the pity in Marcus's eyes. That pity cut deeper than any insult. David went home, sat on the edge of his bed, and wept. Not out of sadness, but out of sheer frustration. He was 34, and he had nothing to show for his time on earth but a dent in the couch and a mediocre credit score. He couldn't sleep that night. At 4:30 a.m., driven by a restless energy, he went for a walk in the nearby park. The city was dead silent. The air was crisp. It felt like a different world, a secret world that existed only for those willing to witness it. On a bench overlooking the river, he saw an older man. He was doing something strange writing in a leather notebook by the light of a small street lamp. The man stopped, looked at David, and nodded. "You look lost, son," the man said. His voice was gravel, but kind. David sat down. "I'm not lost. I'm just stuck. I feel like I'm running out of time." The old man closed his notebook. "You aren't running out of time. You're wasting the prime cuts and eating the scraps." The man introduced himself as Elias. He wasn't a billionaire guru. He was a retired master carpenter, a man who had built a legacy with his hands. "Tell me," Elias said, "when do you work on yourself?" "I try in the evenings," David said. "But I'm too tired." "Of course you are," Elias laughed. "You give the best hours of your day to your boss. You give your energy to the traffic, to the news, to the gossip. By the time you get to your dreams, you're running on fumes. You are paying everyone else first, and paying yourself with the leftovers." Elias leaned in, his eyes intense. "If you want to change your life, you have to become selfish, brutally selfish. The hours between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. are the golden hours. The world is asleep. No one is calling you. No one needs you. The chaos hasn't started. If you can conquer those 2 hours, you conquer the day. If you conquer the day, you conquer your life." David shook his head. "I'm not a morning person. I've tried. I can't do 5 a.m. "You're not a morning person because you have no purpose to wake up for," Elias snapped. "Pain pushes you, but vision pulls you. You need a protocol, a system. You don't just wake up, you launch." Elias tore a page from his notebook and wrote down a simple 3-step framework. He called it the Victory Protocol. "Here's the deal," Elias said. "I will give you this, but you must commit to 90 days. Not 89, 90. The first 30 days will be unbearable. Your body will scream. Your mind will beg for the pillow. But if you survive the first 30 days, the next 30 will be messy. And the last 30 will be unstoppable. Do you accept?" David looked at the paper. He looked at the sunrise beginning to bleed purple and orange over the horizon. "I accept." The next morning the alarm went off at 5 a.m. It felt like a physical blow. David's brain immediately offered 1,000 excuses. "Just 5 minutes. You start tomorrow." But he remembered the pity in Marcus's eyes. He threw the covers off and stood up. He followed Elias's protocol. Hour 1, 5 a.m. to 6 a.m., the body and the mind. David didn't check his phone. That was the cardinal rule. No input from the world. He drank a glass of water and immediately exercised. 20 minutes of sweating. Push-ups, jumping jacks, anything to spike the heart rate. This wasn't about getting ripped. It was about waking up the neurochemistry. Then 20 minutes of silence, meditation or prayer, sitting with his thoughts instead of drowning them out. Finally, 20 minutes of planning. He wrote down his 3 absolute priorities for the day. He wasn't reacting. He was strategizing. Hour 2, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., the sword sharpening. This was the time for the dream. David wanted to learn design. So for 1 focused hour while his boss was still asleep, while his neighbors were snoring, David studied. He watched tutorials, he practiced layouts, he built a portfolio. At 7 a.m. he showered and went to his normal job. But something was different. By the time he walked into the office, he had already achieved more than most people did all day. He felt a secret power. He wasn't just a data entry clerk anymore. He was a man who was building an exit strategy. But let's be real. It wasn't a montage of perfection. Day 14 was a disaster. David had stayed up late the night before. When the alarm went off, he turned it off and slept until 7:30. He woke up feeling disgusted, drowning in shame. He almost quit. He thought, "See? I knew I couldn't do it." He went back to the park that evening, hoping to see Elias. The old man was there. David confessed his failure. Elias didn't offer sympathy. He offered truth. "You missed a day, so what? The problem isn't that you fell. The problem is that you think falling makes you a failure. It makes you human. The amateur stops when he fails. The professional gets back up, resets the clock, and goes again. Do not let one slip turn into a slide." David went back to the protocol. He moved his phone to the kitchen, so he had to physically walk out of his bedroom to turn off the alarm. He started going to bed at 9:30 p.m., realizing that his morning actually began the night before. He cut out the late-night Netflix. He sacrificed the comfort of the evening for the power of the morning. Around day 60, the magic happened. This is what science calls neuroplasticity. The struggle faded. Waking up at 5 a.m. no longer felt like discipline. It felt like destiny. His brain had rewired itself, and the results started to bleed into his reality. Because he was exercising and meditating, his anxiety dropped. He walked taller. Because he was planning his day, his efficiency at his data job doubled. He finished his work in half the time. And because he had spent 60 hours, that's 1.5 full work weeks learning design, his skills were exploding. On day 85, David saw a posting for a junior graphic designer at a marketing firm downtown. The old David wouldn't have applied. The old David would have said, "I'm not qualified." But the David who woke up at 5 a.m., the David who had won the battle against his inner weakness 85 times in a row, he didn't hesitate. He set his portfolio, the portfolio built in the dark hours of the morning. He got the interview. The creative director looked through his work. "These are impressive," she said. "But I see here you work full-time in logistics. When did you have time to create all this?" David smiled. It was a smile of genuine confidence. "I built this while the rest of the city was sleeping. I work from 5 to 7 a.m. on my future. The rest of the day is just maintenance." The director closed the folder. "That is the kind of discipline we can't teach. You're hired." David walked out of that building and looked up at the sky. It was the same sky he used to ignore. He had doubled his salary. He was doing work he loved. But the job wasn't the prize. The money wasn't the prize. The prize was the man he had become. He realized that Elias was right. The morning didn't give him more time. It gave him more self. This is where you come in. You are watching this because you are hungry. You are watching this because you know you are capable of more. But you are waiting for the perfect time. You are waiting for motivation to strike you like lightning. Motivation is a myth. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are fickle. Discipline is a command. Here is the truth that successful people hide in plain sight. The battle for your life is fought in the morning. If you lose the morning, you spend the rest of the day playing catch-up. But if you win the morning, you walk into the world as a victor, not a victim. So I have a challenge for you. A challenge that separates the dreamers from the doers. Tomorrow morning, the alarm is going to ring. You have a choice. It is a binary choice, a 0 or 1. You can hit snooze, pull the blanket over your head, and dream about the life you want. Or you can hit dismiss, put your feet on the cold floor, and start building the life you deserve. I want you to try the 5 a.m. protocol for just 7 days. That's it. 1 week. Set the alarm for 5 a.m. Put the phone in the other room. Spend the first hour on your body and your mind. Spend the second hour on one skill that will change your future. It will be hard. It will be lonely. The voice in your head will scream at you. But remember David. Remember that the version of you that you admire, the fit, wealthy, calm, successful version of you is waiting for you at 5 a.m. Don't let them wait any longer. If you are ready to accept this challenge, if you are ready to stop sleeping through your potential, I want you to make a commitment right now. Not in your head, but in the world. Like this video to seal the pact. And in the comments, write one sentence. I will win the morning. Your new life is currently scheduled for tomorrow at 5 a.m. Don't be late.